My name is Leo, and I'm 36. For my entire life, I've been the unofficial family ATM and crisis manager. It's a role I never auditioned for but was cast in by default. You know the type. The one who gets a call when rent is late. The one who smooths over awkward family dinners. The one who quietly pays the bill without being asked. I did it because I believed that's what family was for. You show up, you help out, and you don't keep score. That belief cost me a small fortune and nearly my sanity. My younger sister, Clara, was always the star of the family. Her achievements were our achievements. Her happiness was the family's primary goal. From her piano recitals to her graduation, my parents treated her life like a series of premieres. I was the silent producer, funding things from the background. When she got engaged to Marcus, a man whose family name was basically a brand in the city's elite circles, the production went into overdrive. Suddenly, it wasn't just a wedding, it was a merger of dynasties, or so my mother claimed. "Leo, this is our chance to show them we belong," my mom told me, her eyes gleaming. I just nodded, already knowing what was coming. The first call was for the venue deposit. "It's the only way to secure the date, Leo," Clara had said, her voice laced with manufactured panic. "Marcus's parents are handling the big stuff, but we need to lock this in now. You'll get it back, I promise." She didn't ask. She informed. I knew I had savings. She knew I had savings. That night I transferred $10,000 without a second thought. Then it was the catering. Marcus's mother made a comment that the initial choice wasn't up to par. Clara called me in tears, saying the wedding would be a disaster if the food wasn't perfect. I covered the upgrade, another $6,000. Next came the bespoke floral arrangements, then the deposit for a renowned photographer, then a specific sound system for the string quartet. With each call, the wedding became less about my sister and more about making a statement to her new family. And I kept paying. The first real crack appeared during a family video call. I heard my mother boasting about how wonderfully generous Marcus's family was, how they were footing the bill for this incredible event. "Clara is just so lucky," she gushed. Not once did my name come up. Not one mention of the tens of thousands of dollars I had poured in. I stayed silent, but a cold knot formed in my stomach. That silence became my new role. I wasn't invited to the menu tasting. I wasn't asked for input on the invitations. When I asked Clara about the rehearsal dinner, she was vague. "Oh, it's just a small thing for the wedding party and Marcus's immediate family," she said. "You know how it is." I told myself it didn't matter. I wasn't doing this for a thank you, but it stung. The final blow came via a text message 2 weeks before the wedding. It was from my mother. "Hi, Leo. Small change of plans. Marcus's parents feel it's best if the guest list is kept to their close circle. To avoid any awkwardness, it's probably better if you don't attend. No hard feelings." I read it 3 times. It felt like a punch to the gut. No hard feelings. I called her. Voicemail. I called Clara. Voicemail. I texted them both. "Is this a joke?" An hour later, my mom replied, "Please don't make this difficult, Leo. It's their day." Their day. A day I was funding but was not welcome to witness. I sat in my apartment, the city lights blurring through the window. I thought about every sacrifice, every check I'd written, every time I put my own needs aside for them. I remembered paying for our dad's emergency surgery a few years back because their insurance wouldn't cover all of it. I thought about all the times I was the reliable one, the safety net. And now, I was an inconvenience, an awkward presence. I picked up my phone and replied to my mom's text. Understood. Then, I opened my laptop. The venue contract was in my name. I had signed it and paid the deposit. I called their events manager. I need to cancel a reservation, I said calmly. The manager was polite, confirming that since I was the signatory and it was within the cancellation window, the date would be released, and a portion of my deposit would be refunded. Consider it canceled, I said. Next, the caterer. My credit card was on file. My signature was on their agreement. I told them my plans had changed. They confirmed the cancellation, processed my partial refund, and that was that. The photographer followed. Then the florist, who actually sounded relieved. Apparently, Clara and her future mother-in-law had been impossible to please. By midnight, every single vendor I had paid for was canceled. Every piece of the perfect wedding that I had funded had vanished. I didn't call them. I didn't send an angry text. I just went to bed. They believed they could push me out, and I decided to take my wallet with me. The week of the wedding was strangely quiet. I assumed they were too caught up in their own self-importance to notice the administrative details. Or maybe they just assumed I'd never dare to pull the plug. That's the problem with being the dependable one. People start seeing your kindness as an obligation. On the morning of the wedding, I turned off my phone and went for a long hike. I wanted to be unreachable. I wanted to be surrounded by nature, far from the explosion I knew was coming. Because right around that time, hundreds of guests in expensive outfits would be arriving at a beautiful but very empty and very locked venue. No food, no flowers, no music. Just a sign on the gate reading, "No event scheduled for today." When I finally got home and turned my phone back on, it felt like it was going to vibrate off the table. 82 missed calls, 50 texts, a dozen voicemails. The first text was from my mom. "Leo, what have you done? The venue is locked. Nothing is here. Call me immediately." Another from Clara. "This isn't funny, Leo. You need to fix this now." And one from Marcus. "My parents are going to sue you into the ground. You have no idea what you've done." I didn't reply. I listened to the first voicemail. It was my mother. Her voice high and panicked. "Leo, I don't know what kind of game you're playing, but you're humiliating this family. People flew in from all over the country. You need to fix this." The second was Clara, her voice a mix of tears and rage. "How could you do this to me? To me? You have ruined the most important day of my life. You are a selfish, cruel person, Leo." The irony was so thick I could barely breathe. Me, selfish? After everything I'd given? This wasn't about the money. It was about respect. It was about being treated as a person, not a resource to be exploited and then discarded when I was no longer convenient. I made myself a coffee and sat on my balcony. The world felt calm, clear. For the first time in years, a massive weight had been lifted from my shoulders. Later that afternoon, a text came from my aunt, my dad's sister, one of the only relatives who ever treated me like a person. Heard what happened. They shouldn't have treated you like that. I'm sorry. It was the only message I replied to. That evening, my phone rang again. It was my mother. I decided to answer. Leo, she said, her voice strained. We're back at the hotel. Clara is a wreck. Marcus's family is talking about lawyers. This is a catastrophe. I waited. Why would you do something so hateful? She finally asked. You told me I wasn't invited, I said, my voice steady. I was just respecting your wishes. That's not what I meant, and you know it, she snapped. It was personal to me, I replied. When you told me I wasn't welcome at my own sister's wedding, a wedding you asked me to finance, you made it personal. There was a long silence. I could hear muffled sobbing in the background. I didn't destroy anything, I continued. I just stopped paying for it. There's a difference. Adrian, she whispered, what are we supposed to do now? I looked out at the city, at the endless sea of lights, each one a life, a story. A world that didn't revolve around my family's drama. I don't know, I said honestly, but I'm no longer your problem to solve. I hung up. I knew it wasn't the end. There would be fallout, anger, and a family narrative that would paint me as the villain. But for the first time, I didn't care whose side they were on. I was finally on my own. The fallout was messy, the gossip, the angry emails, the threats from Marcus's father. 6 months later, Clara and Marcus divorced. Their foundation, built on image and entitlement, crumbled under the first sign of pressure. I moved away a year later. I have a new job, new friends, and a life that is entirely my own. A quieter, simpler life. I don't know if they ever understood, but I am no longer the ghost in their family photo, the silent benefactor. I am free, and I never looked back.